Hello, I'm back. Penny here with a pretty long story. So settle in, pour yourself a drink, get some popcorn. I'm going to try to break it down and let you know what happened with my Milgauss story. It's fairly complicated. And if you don't have any patience and you just want to know what happened and you don't want to sit through 21 minutes, listen, I bought a Milgauss, returned it, and there is a surprise happy ending. So you can only find that out, I guess, if you watch the rest of the video and listen to the story. The good AD versus the shady AD, or the shady AD in the past versus the good AD in the future. Okay, guys. Well, first of all, this story actually begins with this Milgauss right here, which I had I think I sold it in 2018 or 2019. So it was my first Milgauss. So the Milgauss was a rebuy for me. I sold it because I got the call for the Batman a bit prematurely, and I didn't want to have all this money in watches, so I wanted to get rid of a piece in order to bring a piece in. This is how I learned that I'm just not a seller. I'm not a flipper, because I sold the Milgauss immediately, maybe a little gradually started to miss it. Fast forward to 2021, I decide I'm going to rebuy the Milgauss. Now, I made this video right here where I was unboxing the Milgauss that I purchased online through a online / maybe gray market retailer. So, listen, I already had the call out to two Rolex ADs about getting a Milgauss because I do have a relationship with two of them. More on that later. And I did have the call out since, maybe late January or mid-January. And one of them said he really hasn't been getting Milgausses, which made me think, oh no, they're probably going to discontinue it. The other one said he would try, but he couldn't make any promises. So I wait until March. My plan was to wait until mid-March. And if I didn't hear from the Rolex ADs, I was going to go ahead and buy it pre-owned on the gray market, or just in the pre-owned market, not necessarily the gray market. And that was my plan. So about a week earlier than I anticipated, I kind of started browsing around looking for these Milgausses. This is the black GV. And the supply seemed to, be getting a little bit thinner. And I was very particular about what I wanted. I wanted a box and papers Milgauss as minty as possible. I really didn't want a whole bunch of scratches on it. For me, it ruins it if the crystal has any scratches, and there were a couple that had scratched crystals, and I didn't want the polished center links being all scratched up. So I kind of wanted a new one, a pretty new one, right? And I wanted it to be not above retail. And with the Milgauss, you can find a good price range, but still the stock that met those criteria had been declining. So I go to this website that I browse pretty often, and I see that they have a couple of these. One in particular said a 2014, and it said unworn. So I was like, wow, this is great. This is Monday of last week, so this was early March, right? Might have even been March 1st. Yeah, I think it was March 1st. I see this listing. I decide I'm going to go for it. It's a week earlier, so about a week earlier than I wanted to do this. But I'm thinking, hey, we're getting close to April. We're getting close to Rolex's announcement. Maybe the Milgauss will be discontinued. Even if it isn't, maybe supply will start to dwindle because people will be thinking that they're going to discontinue it. So anyway, I had all this anxiety about it. I bought it online. I had texted my ADs and let them know, hey, I'm still out here with a Milgauss, any luck? And no, there wasn't any luck. And so I went ahead and I made the purchase. That was last week. That was Monday. This seller is very good at shipping and the whole process. I got the watch like within 48 hours of making the order. Almost less than that. I think it was even like 36 hours later. I had the watch. This is the watch you see here. This was the original video I posted. And you might have seen a couple of details. I mean, you see there the hang tag. You see the card there from afar. I was comparing it to my my box that my other Rolexes have come in, and was a bigger box that I'm used to, a newer box, obviously. And I posted this video, pretty happy to welcome the Milgauss. That pillow right there, guys, I lost a lot of sleep over that pillow being all scrunched up and just kind of weird. Anyway, a lot of people left a comment, and I took the video down because I ended up deciding that I didn't want this watch, and I mentioned the seller, and I just didn't want this to be like, slander. It's not slander, but I just didn't want to leave a disparaging comment or video about a particular seller until I was absolutely sure what the final verdict was going to be. So first off, I want to thank a few people who posted. Let's see, who posted some really good comments. Let's see, there was Ahmed Helmi. Ahmed Helmi posted some great comments. A004, a lot of great comments and observations. Error logging, posted some great comments. James Con 11. Let's see, Rampus channel. There were a lot of people who posted some reflections on what I presented in this other video. Anyway, so this was by, let's see, I got the watch Monday. I bought the watch on Monday. I received it on Wednesday. I posted this video on Wednesday, the day I got the box, the day I got the watch. What started to irritate me, or the first question I had, was about the size of the box. Why wasn't it like my other Rolex sports model boxes? So I emailed the seller that night. After I made this video, I emailed the seller the few things that were kind of nagging me, and that was about the box. Is this the correct box for this watch, which is listed as a 2014? Also, guys, it still had the stickers, and it had a warranty card that had 2019 on it. Okay, I wasn't even really tipped off about that yet. I did ask a question about it, like, why is the warranty card 2019, but the watch is 2014? I was still fixated on that funky little pillow that didn't look like a Rolex pillow. Someone said in the comments, I've never seen a weird pillow before. And yeah, you're right. That was a weird little scrunchy pillow. I don't know what's up with it. And the box size. Those were the two things, is the box did not feel great. And also, the little crown had a chip out of it. So I'm obsessed about the box. The seller immediately answered my questions and said, I'll send you a newer box if you want, but that is the box that it came with. And then, he explained the age of the watch and the boxes that went with certain models. And other people in the comments said that the size of the box was not necessarily wrong, but the hang tag, which was brownish, reddish brownish and not green, doesn't go with models that are newer, like the card says 2019. So there was this discrepancy, guys. I was focused on the box, but then because of the comments, and after I thought about it a little bit longer, the next morning I emailed the seller some more questions. Why the heck does it have a 2014 card, but you're listing the watch as 2019 sorry, why does it have a 2019 card when you're listing the watch as 2014 new, unworn? So this is kind of new old stock, but what is up with the difference? If it was sold in 2014 or produced in 2014, what is the likelihood that it sat on someone's shelf or in their case for 5 years? We know that doesn't happen with Rolex sports models, not even the Milgauss, the ugly duckling of the sports line. So I started asking him that, and he says, well, I think that date was added later, but he tells me how he got the watch, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to go reiterate all of that, but the gist of it was that, probably, he didn't know, but probably that date was added. It was a blank card, and it was added later, at a later date. Okay, so that's what I know by that day on Thursday. That's Thursday morning. I'm still not feeling great about it, and I haven't taken the stickers off or sized the watch because I bought this as a birthday gift, and it's not my birthday yet because I jumped the gun. I bought this watch a little bit earlier than I anticipated. So I'm thinking I'll save it. I'll leave it in the box in case I get a call from the AD, just on in the long shot, on the off chance that I get a call from the Rolex AD, I want to, I don't want to take the stickers off this one. But B, more importantly, is it's going to be my birthday at some point soon, and I wanted to wear it, on the actual birthday. So I left the watch alone, asked my questions, read your comments on YouTube, and that's where we stood as of like Thursday. So it's only been a day since I got the watch. Later Thursday, guys. This is where bum 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 things get even crazier. Later on Thursday, I get a text from AD number one, AD number two, who says to me, he just starts texting me pictures, guys, pictures of, you guessed it, a Milgauss. The same day that literally the day after I got this watch, I get a text from the AD telling me he has one, and when am I going to come and get it? This is Thursday, so he's like, are you going to come get it Friday or Saturday? When do you want to come and get this watch? I'm like, oh man, all I could do is laugh. Honestly, at that point, I have a Milgauss. It may be a little shady, but it was actually funny to me that the AD actually came through. Keep in mind, this is not the AD that I have a purchase history with. I have two ADs in my life. I feel like I'm like dating, multiple people or something. It's so weird. But I have one AD that I mostly shop with, that I've always shopped with, and I have one that I'm on good terms with, but I've never actually bought anything from him, because he only ever offers me tutors, and I don't really want tutor like that, right? So every now and then I ask him for a Rolex that I know is kind of impossible and I'm not going to get. But this time I asked for a pretty reasonable one, which was the Milgauss, and he came through. And so he texts me a picture of him holding it, a couple pictures of him holding the Rolex Milgauss. And so I just laugh. I call my wife. I say, hey, can you get a bottle of wine or something? I'm going to go pick up this watch tomorrow. And, she's like, what watch? And I'm like, Milgauss. Boy, did I get an earful, man. She's yelling at me. She's like, why didn't you wait? I told you to wait at least another week or a couple weeks before you jumped the gun and bought one online. I got an earful, guys. But at this point, I'm not worried about it because, okay, I made a mistake. I have two Milgausses. I'll keep the new one and I'll sell the one that I bought online. They have most online sellers have a no buyer's remorse, policy, or something has to be wrong with the watch or whatever to return it. I mean, some of them have more generous return policies, but I wasn't even thinking about a return. I was like, maybe I'll hit the Rolex jackpot. Rolex will discontinue this watch in April. I'll have one to sell. I'll sell the one that I didn't buy at the AD. I'll keep the one that I bought at the AD with a fresh card and all of that. So that was my plan as of Thursday, and I make a plan to go pick up the watch on Friday, the new Milgauss number 2 from the AD. But in that time frame between Thursday and Friday, I'm reading more comments online, and I'm really starting to think about this watch. So I start doing some research, guys. This is where the bad AD story comes in. So I started doing some research, trying to figure out, because on the card, it does not have a seller name. I mean, a owner name. So you know how the old Rolex cards used to have a bunch of information on it: the store that you got it from, the country code, the buyer's name, and a date. Well, the only thing that card had on it was the date. It did have the country code, and it did have the jeweler. Okay, so I started doing research, like, who is this jeweler, and I'm trying to just verify that all this is legit if I'm going to keep this second, Milgauss, the one that I bought online, and I have to resell it. I want to know a little bit more about it, just because some of these things are not making sense to me, mainly why the card says 2019 if it's a new old stock, 2014. So I started doing research on the AD. I'm not even thinking about the seller I bought it from, the online retailer, whatever. They're cool because they answered my questions. I didn't feel I was getting the runaround or anything like that. They have an excellent reputation. I've bought from them, and I've sold to them before. So I'm like not really thinking about the seller. the online seller. I'm thinking about the AD that originally sold this watch and how it ended up to the gray market. So I started doing my research, folks. First thing right away, I Googled the name of the AD, the Rolex AD. I'm not going to say the name. I'm not going to say what country it was in, but I Google it. You know, we have that at our disposal these days. And first, right away, you discover that, hey, this jeweler is not a Rolex AD. Not anymore. I don't know when the last time this jeweler was a Rolex AD, but they're not anymore. So since the card says 2019, I'm thinking, okay, maybe they lost their Rolex AD status, but at least in 2019, they had to have still been an AD. So I start Googling that jeweler's name and different dates, you know, 2020, 2021, 2019, 2018. I'm searching for anything. Oh, and and Rolex, like those key terms. I'm searching for anything that could give me some more information. You know, when did this AD lose their status? Because it was very clear that they had an AD status and they lost it. I have to dig deep into Google, guys, deep into the archives of the internet to figure this out. And this is actually because of the Rolex forums. The Rolex forums have a lot of gossip and a lot of news about ADs closing. So if you search, Google, you might come up with some of this information. But I found out a long thread of lots of ADs that were going out of business. And apparently, this AD that is on my card for the 2014 watch, new old stock watch, went out of business in 2013. Or at least that's when they were told by Rolex that they were going to close. And the reason I know this, guys, is there were so many stories about this particular scum or slimy AD. This AD had some horrendous practices, apparently, and there's lots of colorful stories about how nasty this AD was to people. And it was nothing about like stealing watches or anything like that. It was just how they treated people, and it's pretty gross. So I find out that they're told to close by Rolex because some of their customers are reporting this, that they're closing and they might be liquidating their stock. I found all this out, right? But my thing is, this is when my alarm bells are just blaring and I'm starting to freak out. If this AD went out of business in 2013, you may not know exactly that the Milgauss that I had was a 2014 because of random serial numbers. But if they went out of business in 2013, maybe it was 2014 extended to that. How the heck is this card a 2019 card? Who put the date on there for 2019? So guys, that's where I just lost my shit. I'm sorry to swear. But I was like, wait a minute, I'm not comfortable. Okay, I did not fear at any point that the watch was fake. It feels like a Milgauss. It looks like a Milgauss. It is a Milgauss. I've had this watch before. I've handled it before. Nothing about it seemed inauthentic. And the green crystal, guys, if of all the Rolexes to fake, this is definitely not an easy one to fake. So I was never, ever concerned that it was fake. But I just didn't know about the shady paperwork. Why on earth did it say 2019? Who wrote that, right? Apparently, what I would guess is that this AD sold this watch to a person or directly to Gray and did not date or put any information on the card other than what was already printed on it, which was the country code and their name. They just gave a blank card, and this probably happens all the time. But somewhere along the line, someone wrote 2019 on there, and that was dishonest. That does not match the history or the production year of this watch. So I, combined with all the stuff people were saying on YouTube about the hang tag, the age and the box was consistent with the age of the watch. The only inconsistent thing really was the date on that card. So I go back to the seller, because now I'm going to be responsible for trying to sell this to someone, and I got to explain all these crazy details of like why the heck this is all not lining up. How am I going to sell this? I'm not even a watch dealer. I'm just your average person who likes Rolex. So I don't want to deal with this headache of now trying to sell it, maybe without box and papers, and definitely take a loss. So I go back to the seller. I don't explain, hey, I have another Milgauss, because that's irrelevant. My point is I was willing to keep two Milgausses and deal with it, but I don't want to deal with these inconsistencies in the paperwork. To the seller's credit, they refunded my money. They said, okay, no problem, return it. I returned it. Luckily, I hadn't taken the stickers off, and they refunded my money. And there was no drama on the seller's end. The little bit of drama was just piecing all this together and starting to discover how, how much I didn't want any part of this watch. I don't think it was stolen. I didn't check it against the stolen registry, but I was going to, just in case, right? Because now I'm going to sell this watch, or I own this watch. I want to make sure it's not stolen. I didn't get that far, but the inconsistencies on the paperwork was enough for me to want to walk away. Plus the fact that I already had one. So it does have a good ending, a happy ending, in that I was able to pick up my new Milgauss and enjoy that and return this one. But what a saga, man. I think I learned my lesson that I'm never going to buy Rolex online again. I don't have to. I have the connections, or I just won't get the watch. Like, this stuff is not for me. I don't have the stomach for it. So yeah, that's the story of what happened with this Milgauss.